Welcome to the KBB Review podcast. I'm your host, Andy Davies, as always, and this is episode 4 of season 7. And this week we've got another great episode packed with digital marketing advice for kitchen and bathroom retailers from our guru. Would he like being described as that? I don't know. But he's Josh Delane from the Woodworks in London. In previous episodes, you might have heard we've talked about TikTok, Instagram, and getting the most bang for your buck. But this week we're looking at that other essential, Google Ads. In theory, it's about creating online ads that reach people exactly when they're interested in buying something from you. But how does it work? And how do you make sure it's working for you? We'll be getting all the tips from Josh and hearing how he has used Google Ads to grow his family business. But first, have you booked your tickets yet for the KBB Review Retail and Design Awards 2023? What do you mean no? Well, you better get a wriggle on as it's on Thursday, April the 20th in Cardiff, and places are very limited. That's the venue for you. If you want to take your place alongside other leading industry brands, retailers, designers and influencers, then book it as soon as you get to the end of this episode. Seriously, wait to the end. Go to kbbreview.com/awards for all the details. So, making a triumphant return to the KBB Review podcast is Josh Delane from the Woodworks. Hello, Josh. Welcome back to Harrow.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
That's quite all right. And thank you for sparing us the time. Now, we need to start, as we always do, Josh, with a quick overview of the Woodworks for those that might not have heard before. So give us the who you are and what you do.
So the Woodworks are a fourth generation family owned and operated manufacturer, designer and fitter of high-end luxury kitchens in London. And we operate from our 3 retail showrooms, being Sunningdale in Ascot, Letchworth in Hertfordshire and Mill Hill in North West London. And we have a manufacturing facility in Letchworth in Hertfordshire. Well.
And a very impressive business it is too. So this time around, we're talking about Google and particularly Google Ads. We've looked at Instagram before, we've looked at TikTok before, but now we're getting into the paid advertising side of things. And it's such an important area for any business, I think, isn't it? But give me an idea of how vital it is for you and the Woodworks and what role it plays in your marketing mix.
So the paid piece of our marketing strategy is absolutely massive. It carries a bit less weight now that we are a bit more established on the organic front, but at the beginning it was absolutely crucial. To give you an idea, we're spending currently about 20k a month on these paid platforms. So that's across Google, Facebook, Instagram, with a bit of testing in YouTube ads in there as well. So it is a massive part of our marketing budget, if not 95% of it. And the reason that I see it as so important is it is one piece of the puzzle, being the arbitrage piece. You pay X to acquire a lead and you convert it at 25%, and this is how much it costs you to get that customer. It's very black and white in terms of how much that cost you to get over the line. Whereas on the organic side, it's a bit more airy-fairy, it's a bit more creative. We're talking followers, we're talking engagement, we're talking about direct messages on Instagram. It's a bit harder to quantify how much that cost, whereas this is a bit more black and white, and you can justify the results that you get at the end of it by saying, I spent £1,000 on these ads, I had 10 leads, I converted 3 of them, so it cost me £1,000 to convert those 3 people. It makes sense.
And a big part of this is combining all of those things together into one mix of things. I suppose
Absolutely.
Rather than just doing one or just doing that, just doing A or just doing B, you've got to combine all these things together into one strategy.
Yeah, so we call it an omnichannel approach, and we look at our return on ad spend holistically. So that is the total we spend across every single platform, including our creative team, our agencies, etc. And the return on that is however many kitchens we sell. So £4 million of kitchens, £6 million, whatever it is, that is our total return. Is that divided by the amount we spend on all of the platforms? And we say it has to be omnichannel is because people spend their time in different places. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, email, LinkedIn, they're everywhere, and you have to meet them where they are. So that's why we are on all of these platforms. And on the paid side, we are on the platforms that have shown the best results, in this case being Google and Facebook and Instagram.
Right, so let's go back to basics with Google Ads then. I will confess to you right now, Josh, please don't hate me for this, but it is not an area I am familiar with at all. Right?
Okay,
It has never fallen under my remit to sort our Google Ads out. So I am a complete blank canvas. So go back to the beginning. What are Google Ads and how do they work?
Okay, so if you ever search for anything on Google, the first 3 results typically are going to be the ad placement. So they are going to be the sponsored posts that companies are paying to get there for certain keywords. So if I search bespoke kitchen London, there are going to be 3 results at the top, and those are the results that people are paying to get there, right? Everything under that, or what they call under the fold, are the organic results that people have spent a lot of time and effort on their SEO, the search engine optimization, which basically flags Google and says, hey, I'm a really important website. People think I'm great. it shows you right at the top of Google, but that can take, in some instances, years of hard work, a lot of money, a lot of writing, a lot of time. And so the ad part of it is a way to shortcut that process and show up on Google for certain keywords that you think people are going to be searching for. So why is it important? Well, Google is an intent-based platform, i.e., if I'm searching for bespoke kitchens London, I am imminently interested in bespoke kitchens in London, right? I'm not searching that for the fun of it. So Google ads are going to cost a bit more than any other platform simply because those are people that have intent behind that search. So you're showing up your ad in front of those people when they are searching for that specific thing. And it's a bidding platform. So you are bidding on a keyword. So I might bid on bespoke kitchens London, and therefore it's going to cost me X amount, £4, £5 per click to show up in one of those 3 results. So every time someone clicks on that and hits my website, it's cost me £5. The interesting thing with Google over the other platforms is that you only pay when someone clicks on your website. So unlike Facebook and Instagram, where you could be paying to show your ads to thousands or millions of people, Google only charges you when someone actually clicks onto your website, which is probably a bit better for some people because they can see a more tangible result.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So I've decided that I want to start doing some Google ads, and I own a kitchen retail shop in Basingstoke.
Okay.
Where do I start? I presumably, you have an account with Google, whatever it is, but where do I start getting the results that I want? What are the steps that I would go through and decisions I would have to make along the way?
So you would set up a Google Ads account, which you can watch a YouTube video. It's all fairly simple to do. And from there, you would start to work out the keywords that you want to be bidding on. So in your example, you're a kitchen showroom in Basingstoke. Let's just say you do a wide variety of styles. You might work out some keywords that would be modern kitchens Basingstoke, modern bespoke kitchens Basingstoke, traditional kitchen Basingstoke, right? Things that you feel like are obvious. What would people search to be able to find me, right? That's the starting point. And you would fire in a list of those keywords into your Google Ads manager, and those are what I'm going to be bidding on. So then you set a budget, what you're happy to pay per day to be able to reach all of these people. So basically, let's just say your budget was £50 a day, hypothetically, and it costs you on average £5 a click. That means that after 10 clicks, Google's going to shut it off, right? So your ads will no longer be shown to people that day. So it's not like you can spend untold amounts of money. It's all capped. The second part of that is negative keywords. So for us, for example, negative keywords are, I don't want to show my ad where someone has searched this word in addition to the keywords that I want. So let's just say for us, we bid on the search terms bespoke kitchens London. Okay. I want a negative keyword that says cheap or discount or any of those sorts of that have negative connotations that I don't want to appear from. So that's my negative keywords: cheap, DIY, discount. I put that in my negative keywords, which means that if people are searching cheap, any of those terms with bespoke kitchens London, it doesn't show up. And then the final piece of the puzzle is competitor keywords. Paul, if you're your kitchen shop in Basingstoke, you might look around and say, who are the big boys in my area or near me? There might be a Tom Howley around the corner. There might be, I don't know, a Schmidt near. And what you can do is you can bid for their search terms. So you could bid for Schmidt Basingstoke. I don't know if there's a Schmidt in Basingstoke, but for the example, you could bid for...
I don't even know if there's really a Basingstoke.
My geography is terrible. So you could bid for Schmidt Basingstoke, which means that anytime that someone is Google searching Schmidt Basingstoke, you could be the first result, which is quite cheeky when you think about it.
And that presumably is a huge part of Wren's or Magnet's strategy.
Absolutely.
Because they turn up literally whatever you search anywhere.
Personally, I'm quite flattered that they bid on our search term. Wren and Magnet show up for the Woodworks London. So I'm actually quite flattered by that.
So when you say bid, I have eBay in my head for bidding. Is it literal bidding, like one at a time bidding, or are you setting limits? Are you setting
No,
prices?
that is how it works. So you can do the automatic bidding strategy, which is basically like, this is way too complicated, I'm going to let Google do it. I set my maximum budget, which is £50 a day, and it will work out the best use of your money for the keywords that you've listed on there.
Right.
Now, the more broad a search term is, the more expensive it's going to be generally. So if I'm searching for bespoke kitchen, that search term is going to cost a decent amount of money. That might cost £5, £6 per click. If I go super niche on that, bespoke kitchens, London, in-frame, handmade, right? Let's just go really super long tail with that. That might cost 50p, 75p, a pound, right? It's a lot cheaper. So you give your whole list of keywords and Google then can automatically work out what the best use of your money in. Obviously, it's in their best interest to fire as many people to your website as possible because you're going to then carry on spending money with them. So they have that automatic bidding. When you're expert level and you've done this for a long time, like a lot of agencies, they will do the manual bidding for you. So they will look at what are Wren and Magnet spending a lot of money, these search terms. We don't want to go near that because they've got a huge budget to bid on that. And if they're spending money on bespoke kitchen, then they're going to outbid us and we're never going to be able to show that top result. So we might as well go over the less competitive keywords that we're focusing on.
Okay, I get that. What springs to mind there from the way you're talking is I imagine lots of people use Google Ads and are relatively familiar with it, but probably don't use it very well or probably don't use it very efficiently. It's very easy to click the automate button, but what is the relative effectiveness of that?
So Google, in direct contrast to the other platforms, is not a creative media outlet. So you are not really competing on the creative front. Yes, your copywriting, i.e. the words that show up, have to be decent, but you can get some inspiration from what other people are writing. But really, it's about, am I showing up in the right places for the right searches? And very quickly you can see, okay, I'm getting X number of clicks that's cost me Y that funnel through onto my website. And from that, I'm generating the leads. There is a very, very small amount of it that is how good is your copywriting, but most of all, it's am I bidding on the right key terms at the right times? Have I reduced the negative keywords, et cetera, et cetera?
So there's a bit of trial and error to this, isn't there?
Massively,
Yeah.
massively, yeah.
When you say you're spending 20 odd grand a month, how many keywords is that?
Oh, so it's a lot of keywords. I've actually brought some numbers with me because it'll make it a bit easier to discuss this. So that 20 grand is split roughly 1/3 on Google and 2/3 on Facebook and Instagram. So on the Google side, I'll spend this month, I pulled this up before I left this morning, it was about 6.5 grand. And for that, we had 2,670 clicks onto our website. Okay, so it cost us £2.42 per click onto the website, okay, which sounds quite a lot, right? But obviously we're selling 40, 50, 60 grand kitchens. So bear that in mind. So out of that £6,450, we had 55 people book an appointment or inquire to come into the showroom. Okay. So that cost us £117 per person, which is the 6,450 divided by 55. That's pretty good, right? I mean, if you're selling a 30 grand kitchen, even if you convert 1 in 10, that's going to cost you basically £1,200 to get a 30 grand kitchen or a 40 grand kitchen. It sounds pretty good. And then the other part of that is the conversion rate, which is 2%, which means that out of those 2,670 people that visited our website, right, that we paid for those clicks, 55 people booked an appointment, which is a conversion rate of about 2%, which is fairly good. It's decent. It's industry standard. There's nothing trailblazing there. But that gives you an idea of sort of these levers that you can pull in order to work out your strategy.
Measuring the success of these things, I think, is sometimes half the battle, isn't it? You kind of do it and you kind of think in your head, oh, I've done my Google Ads or whatever the platform might be, but you never really go into it in the kind of depth that you clearly do to measure what actually works and what doesn't. There's a science to this.
There is a science, and I'm an accountant by trade, and so my numbers background, that's what sort of drew me into digital marketing when I worked at. It's just about as much about maths as it is about art. Back in the day, it was Madison Avenue, cigars and drinks over lunch and creative concepts, and it's not really that anymore. It's very much analytical, it's data driven, and so my numbers brain likes it. But ultimately, that which gets measured gets optimized, right? So we have to look at this every day or once a week and say, this is what we spent. These are how many leads we got from it. Is it working? Is it not working? And tweak and optimize as you go on. So there's no point in spending that level of money and just setting it and forgetting it. You really need to be on top of it all the time. Listen, if you're spending a couple of £100 a month, again, you're never going to get anywhere onwards from that if you're not really paying attention to it. Because really, if you delved into these numbers and you worked out that it's costing me £117 per lead and I'm converting 1 in 10, that £1,200 it cost me to get a 30 grand kitchen, I could do that infinity and I could grow the business an exponential amount. Why aren't I doing that? But until you really grasp those numbers, it's very hard to make people make those decisions.
And it's called ads, but it's not ads in the way that I would visualize what an ad looks like.
Correct.
This is literally a text-based thing. So what are your tips for getting that bit of it right?
Have a clear call to action. So what do you actually want people to do? Do you want people to visit the website, download a brochure? Is there some sort of lead magnet, i.e. are you giving away something free, free consultation? Try and call something out like that in the copy and make sure that the, again, under the fold text, the bit underneath the headline is optimized. Are you saying the right keywords? Are you triggering people's emotions? When they see that, they see bespoke, they see family, business, they see all these things. But ultimately, it's about testing. You could literally test this within an inch of its life, but start with 5 different versions, 5 different headlines with the same copy underneath, and then see, well, that headline got a 3% click-through rate and the other one's got 1%. Okay, so let's take that headline and let's adjust the under the fold copy. And making these small tweaks. Don't tweak everything all at once, because then you'll never know what's working. It's like a science experiment in school, right?
One bit at a time.
One bit at a time. So in that example, you have five ads, okay? So you've got 5 headlines and everything under the headline is the same. Right, we found a winning headline. So we go on to that winning headline and now we change the first sentence of that copy under the fold, but everything else remains the same. Then we tweak the second sentence and we basically work out the winning ad out of that. And it is an iterative process. It's not a 2-second job.
And the same science applies, I guess, to your competitors. It's very easy to work out what keywords your competitors are using. Because if you search for something and they come up top,
correct,
you know that they've used that term.
Correct.
So you then bid on that and you can say it all gets into a
you can add in search terms based on what other people are doing. There are softwares that you can pay for that would suggest the best keywords to be bidding on, give you a good long tail strategy, i.e. these are niche search terms that might not cost you a lot, and that's where you can afford to be competitive. Also work out, just Google your competitors. Like I might Google Humphrey Munson and I'll see what their ads look like and what they're saying and, you know, the kind of language that they're using, etc. And I might try and use that to influence my own copy and tests and see if it works. I'm not saying rip off someone else's ad, of course. Yeah. Take creative inspiration from what they're doing and make it right.
Yes, but it's a competitive environment, isn't it? It just is. It's you know, the nature of bidding makes it a competitive environment. And therefore, if it's very hyper-local, Basingstoke, for example, just having the word Basingstoke in it is immediately going to make it competitive because everyone's going to write that, whether you're the local toy shop, the local kitchen shop, or the local tyre shop. You know, you're all going to have Basingstoke in there.
Yeah, absolutely. But you remember the search volume is important. So again, in that example, you're drafting ads for bespoke kitchen Basingstoke. What if there was, you know, that might get, I don't know, 200 searches a month in the UK. What if there was a road in Basingstoke that was like a bit lesser known, or the high street, and you know what it's called? It's called, I don't know, Basingstoke High Street. Maybe that you can use that search term rather than Basingstoke bespoke kitchens to be a bit more niche. The big boys might not be looking at that search term, and it might cost you less to be able to get that traffic.
Right, imagination.
Correct.
Okay, so one of the options, as with all of these things, is once you go down this rabbit hole, it all starts to look very confusing and all, you know, never ending, that you get somebody in to do it for you.
Yes.
But that, again, can be another rabbit hole of how do you get the right person? How do you know they're doing the right thing by you if you don't understand it very well yourself? So what is your advice, tips for whether you should or shouldn't use a professional agency to do this for you? And how do you know if they're doing the right thing?
Okay, so I would say that it depends on how much money you're spending, because at the £1,000 a month level, in terms of on your ads, if you're spending £1,000 on your ads, an extra £1,000 for an agency is basically going to double whatever the cost of your leads was. So let's just say for £1,000 you got in 10 leads, those leads have gone from costing you £100 to £200. Whereas if you're spending 6, 7, 8 grand, having £1,000 a month agency is a drop in the ocean. It costs you 10% more. You don't really notice it, and you're going to get that 10% back in terms of the efficiency of the bidding campaigns and the fact that they know what they're doing, or you know, at least 10% better than you do. So that is the first thing. Know your numbers. The second thing is, again, you alluded to it, is know enough to be able to judge whether someone is spinning your wheels or not. And this is a big thing that I talk about a lot. It's if you don't know enough to have at least a brief conversation and know whether someone's sort of pulling your leg or not, someone could take you for a ride for 6 months and absolutely rinse you for, you know, £1,000 a month for 6 months, and you just wouldn't know whether they were doing anything good or not, because they'll throw some terminology and they'll throw some acronyms, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, fine, you're the expert. But really, this is why I'm trying to give real numbers in this podcast so that people actually understand how much these things cost. I'm giving you my numbers that are £117 a lead, like that should give you a benchmark in terms of what it costs you. If it's costing you £300, someone else is doing it significantly wrong, or you're doing it significantly wrong. So look at your numbers, understand your numbers. This isn't rocket science, right? These are not complicated numbers. We're talking about the total amount you spent, the number of clicks on your site, the number of leads, and how much it cost you for those leads. This is basic maths, but as long as you understand that and you now have a benchmark to work from, you can judge what someone else is doing on a decent level.
Well, as always, Josh, it's a pleasure to pick your brains. So let's end this with, I'm a retailer. I've listened to everything you said. I thought, fantastic. What can I do about that first thing tomorrow morning? What would be the 3 things you would say to me first thing tomorrow? Set
up a Google Ads account. I think if you're set up now, you get, I think, £100 in free credit. So that's £100 free ad spend, which is great. And watch a YouTube video or watch 10 YouTube videos, how to run Google Ads. They are very simple and they are free. And you can learn within, I want to say, 10 hours. If you commit 10 hours over a week, which is not long, you will be able to run your first ad campaign and start to measure the progress and understand what is going on. And thirdly, make sure you know your numbers. Start to work out how much you're spending on marketing, how many people are coming through the door, what your conversion rate is, etc., so that you can compare a Google campaign to what your offline marketing budget is, in inverted commas.
As I say, it's always a pleasure to hear you talk about this stuff. You're so passionate about it, and I've learned so much in the last 20 minutes or so that I feel I'm just going to go away and start a campaign just selling myself.
Do your 10 hours of research first.
All right, let's not get carried away. Josh, thank you so much, and
Thanks,
we'll speak
Andrew.
again soon.
Take care.
That was Josh Delane from the Woodworks in London, and it makes it all sound so easy, doesn't he? I think the main message here is to take the time to learn as much as you can, because it's really important. Keep evaluating, keep measuring, keep experimenting as you go. The results are there to see. Don't forget to book your tickets for the KBB Review Retail and Design Awards. The event is on Thursday, April the 20th in Cardiff, and you can find out everything at kbbreview.com/awards. See you next time.